Hello and welcome to the Poetic Turn, where we talk about poetry, poems, poets, and invite people on to share information and talk about poetry. I rarely say this, I usually say this later in the podcast, but if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe and share if you like what we do here at the Poetic Turn. Very excited about our guest today. Evan, Tom Keith is one of my oldest and dearest friends, and for some reason, in the time since we knew each other at Ohio University many years ago, he became this expert in Robert Burns. Tom, how did that happen?
Oh, well, thank you, Darren. Thank you, Evan. I don't know. I don't know if I would go. That's expert. Sounds like you're going a little crazy there.
Well, people invite you to talk about Burns. They invite you to Burns dinners. You communicate with British and Scottish people about Robert Burns. You've been to Scotland.
Yes, that's all true. And also, I'm not a trained academic. I consider myself a civilian, but they let me in. It's a friendly group. I got interested in Burns when I was in my 20s. I certainly knew of Burns because my grandmother used to quote all kinds of poetry. And as I said, she would misquote Burns frequently, just on purpose. She'd use it to make fun of people. So I was aware of Burns, and then one day I remember it was in 1985, I heard this music on a Prairie Home Companion that just gutted me. And I waited to find out what it was, and it was Gene Redpath singing the songs of Robert Burns. And I thought, songs? What do you mean songs? So I started to look into that. I got albums, I started looking at the poetry volumes, and if you look in the volumes of poetry, half of them, it's got a tune below it. So it'll be a title tune, right? So
they'll have the poem on the page, and then they'll put a little melody under it?
Right. It'll say, song composed in August, tune, Port Gordon. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that half of the poems are actually lyrics that he wrote to existing melodies. He was a song collector. And how many he wrote and collected and so on and so forth is debated, again, by the professional scholars. It's in the neighborhood of 356 poems and about the same amount of songs, so about 700. And half of them are, you can sing them if you are a singer, if you choose to. So anyway, that got me going. And then various things sort of drew me in. Oh, I'm a little bit of a collector hoarder. That kind of thing. A collector who collects righteously. I'm saving it for posterity. But anyway, so I was finding all these interesting things, and I wrote to this guy who was was interviewed in the Burns Chronicle, G. Ross Roy, who was a professor from the University of South Carolina at Columbia. And
what is the Burns Chronicle?
It's this journal about Robert Burns that's been in print since 1892.
Wow.
Without a break, I think, except for World War II. So we got going, and then he introduced me to all these people. And he said, at one point, he said, come to a conference, you ought to give a paper. And I just thought, I don't even know what the hell that means. So I went to a conference, and then I watched people and I thought, oh, I could do that. So then I just got interested and more interested, and it's nobody pays me a penny for it.
And you've been to many Burns dinners, right?
Been to a lot of Burns suppers. Burns suppers, interesting thing that grew up around Burns about, I think, 5 years after he died. He died in 1796 at the age of 37. Some friends of his threw a dinner, and it kind of caught on, and people started establishing Burns clubs around Scotland and having these annual dinners on his birthday. And now it's a worldwide thing. There are thousands of Burns suppers every year. January 25th is his birthday. They can be anytime in January, February, sometimes as late as March. And of course, they read Burns poems, sing his songs, address the haggis. It's a sort of a Scottish affair. Although the Burns suppers that I went to in New York, everybody was welcome. And it's kind of, there's different kinds of Burns suppers for different organizations. And some of them are still all male, if you can believe that.
Oh, they started out as all male, and then
be Masonic groups and groups of tradesmen and that kind of thing having their Burns club and getting together and doing things. And then in the during the Industrial Age, it was the It was the industrialists, a lot of whom were Scots.
Huh.
They sort of blended in because they were Protestant.
Huh.
And they erected a lot of statues to Burns. There's like 15 in the United States. It's just this massive, interesting history. And as you can hear, I'm sort of a Trekkie about it.
Well, you dive in, and we
Yeah,
might mention briefly you have some small acquaintance with a guy named Tennessee Williams,
I
and
do.
and
Oh,
he wrote
really?
he wrote some poems too, right?
He wrote a few. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
okay,
another thing I fell into.
yeah.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, I know some people with Tennessee Williams stories,
Oh,
and
that's good.
they're interesting.
Well, I never met him, fortunately.
Fortunately,
No, I'm just saying.
but
I don't want to have any stories.
well, we don't want to go too much into Tennessee Williams, but I
No,
know
none.
you've edited volumes of Tennessee Williams information and plays and stuff and letters and
I
so
was asked to write a short byline, like a two-sentence byline. So for something I just wrote, and I did that this morning, and it said Thomas Keith has edited the Tennessee Williams titles for New Direction since 2002. He teaches theater at Pace University and works as a dramaturg and consultant. So that's
so
the
we got the
short.
bio in.
That,
We got the bio in. Thank you.
that's
Tom.
plenty. It's more than enough. For the
Well,
likes
Evan,
of
do you
you.
know much more than I do about Auld Lang Syne? We sing on New Year's Eve, and I learned a little bit more through Tom and also by visiting Scotland last summer and got to go to along the river there, along the River Nim,
Nith.
Nith,
I know. Nith.
and got to see Burns' stuff and his home, and it was quite a visit, an amazing,
Yeah.
amazing place.
Well, how about we hop into a poem?
We should do that. Well, I was just starting to say before we came on the air that I'm not sure where to start. There are the well-known Burns poems, which are frequently lighter fare, or their lyrics to tunes like, like Coming Through the Rye, My Love's Like a Red, Red Rose. You've probably heard of those. Flow Gently, Sweet Afton. And then, of course, Auld Lang Syne. And a lot of those were, as I think I said that already, that they were old melodies that he wrote words to, which is a way of preserving them. And then there's some that just get more complicated. And the thing is that he wrote in a mix of English and Scots. And Scots really is a cousin to English. And it was spoken in Scotland in the medieval times and all the way up through Elizabethan Jacobean times because James what was he?
Was he the first?
Was he the sixth of England
Huh.
or the first of England?
I know.
Anyway, he was king of Scotland, and then when Elizabeth died, and she'd already had Mary, Queen of Scots' head cut off, so the next in line for the throne was the King of Scotland, right? And he
Yeah.
had ordered the Bible to be translated into Scots. Well, once he got to London, he asked for it translated into English, and you get the King James Bible. Well, once people are speaking the language of God, the other languages, kind of fall to the wayside. And so Scots is still used in terms of vocabulary and syntax and all kinds of things. And there are plenty of people in Scotland, you wouldn't understand them if they pepper a lot of their language with it. But it's not Gaelic. Gaelic is the Celtic language, like Irish Gaelic, and that is spoken by a very small minority of people in Scotland. So Scots is very close to English. And that one of the reasons I'm telling you all this is because the more sophisticated poems he wrote, and he wrote a lot of interesting and sophisticated satires and political poems and religious poems, are the Scots is pretty thick, and people don't want to spend the time to figure out what it means. So I'm always trying to figure out how to do that in the easiest way, because I mean, we can read one of those well-known poems if there's something that interests you.
Sure. Something leaps out at you?
Like what jumps out to you, Evan? Is there something that...
A red rose.
Oh, Red Rose. That's a good one. So, and again, like some of these images were in older poems. He would take fragments of things and then write his own version, very much what Shakespeare did.
Yeah.
He'd take essentially the idea, like there were variations on songs with the phrase Auld Lang Syne in them, which is Old Long Since. And then the one we sing today is the one he wrote. Let me see what page this is on in this book. 146.
For those of you following along at home.
And I don't think it needs any translation at all, or
Okay.
transliteration, or whatever it is. So it's a red, red rose, and the tune is actually Major Graham's Strathspey, which is a particular kind of tune in Scotland. That any of these, you just go to YouTube and search for it, and you'll hear somebody singing it.
Yeah.
Oh, my love's like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love's like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee will, my only love, and fare thee weal a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 mile. There you go.
So lovely. So
Yeah.
lovely.
Oh, you know what's the other one you know? To a Mouse. You've heard of that, right?
I've certainly heard of that.
That's
yeah.
the one that we learned in school. I just think Burns used to be in the curriculum. And when I say used to, I mean, I think he started to fall out of use in the 50s. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I did not get any Burns in my education, as I remember.
He's sometimes in the college anthologies. He was always considered like, falling between stools because he wasn't put in with the Romantics. But now a lot of the scholars considered him the first Romantic poet.
Well, it is interesting to hear the poetry put to music because it reminds me a lot of William Blake. But of course, with Blake, there's no music surviving. But he also wrote it with pictures and music, and so that is interesting that they were around the same time, or Burns was before him.
Burns was a little bit later, I believe.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think they overlapped. We could look it up. We have the internet right there.
We'll look it
Or
up
we could
offline.
speculate.
I'm not looking it up. It's not my show.
Well, let's hear To the Mouse. To a Mouse.
All right. Well, that one I know. So the other thing is, if there's any Scots listening, you have to forgive my bizarre Scottish dialect. But because the Scots words are in there, the rhythms make more sense if you make the attempt. I think what I was thinking, and then the other thing is when people can't do it or don't do it, I say skip it all together and it sounds fine. So it's tricky with me though, because this one particularly, I have the habit of doing it sort of with the Scots. So I'll try that. The other thing is, the question is always, do you define all the words beforehand or do you stop along the way? I'll stop along the way. Where is it here? Wrong page. Well, somebody say something while I'm looking this up.
Oh no, I can edit out the spot. The
can you?
pauses?
All,
yeah.
All the voting pause?
I could actually edit out all of you, and so just
You could edit out me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened before. Okay. So, Burns' father was a tenant farmer, sort of like a sharecropper. He worked a small portion of other people's land for subsistence and wasn't very successful at it. And then Burns took over and I'm trying to remember how old he was, but quite young, his father died and he sort of was the head of the household then and taking care of the farm. And he wasn't a very good farmer either, but he worked very hard at it. He ended up doing all kinds of work. That's another part of the story. Anyway, so this is To a Mouse on Turning Up Her Nest with the Plow, November 1785. And according to his brother Gilbert, he did this, saw it, stopped working, and sat down and wrote it.
Wow.
And then, To a Mouse on Turning Her Up in Her Nest with the Plow, November 1785. Wee sleekit cool and timorous beastie, oh, what a panics in thy breastie. Thou needna start a was a hasty with bickering brattle. I would be loath to run and chase thee with murdering pattle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubt na while, sometimes, but thou may thieve. What then, poor beastie? Thou mun live, you must live somehow. A daemonicker in a thrave, which is an extra ear of corn from a sheaf of 24. It's a small request. I'll get the blessing with the lave, with the rest, and never missed. Thy wee bit housey, too, in ruin, its silly walls the winds are strewing, and nothing now to build a new one of foggage green, and bleak December's winds ensuing, baith snell and keen. You can figure out what snell and keen winds are. Mm-hmm. Thou saw the field laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel coulter, the plough blade, passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee money a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble. But house or hold, to thole the winter sleety dribble and cranwreck cold. The winter's coming on and you're going to have to do something. But Mousie, thou art know thy lane. You're not alone. Improving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after glee, often go wrong, and leave us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee. But I backward cast my ee on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear.
What a great reading.
Oh, terrific, Tom.
So
That's
as you
terrific.
can tell, he was depressed. He was having a hard time
Oh.
since his father died.
This reminds me, Catherine, my girlfriend, was mowing the grass behind our condo in West Loop in Chicago, Illinois. Very, very urban. This is the close to right downtown I've ever lived in Chicago. And she turned up a bat. And she did not harm it, but she is just so she's of Burns' mind, so upset about
Disturbing it,
this.
yeah.
Yes, and was so upset by that. And they were able to take the bat and put it in the bat house, and it actually was able to fly away the next day. So it's kind of a happy ending to her story. But
To a bat.
interesting.
To a bat who shouldn't have been in my backyard in the first place.
Yes, exactly. But
Yeah.
and thank you for the exegesis, for the definitions as you went through.
Is that okay, that way to do it?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah. Some of them I like to give in advance, and some it doesn't really make sense.
It didn't disrupt the flow at all.
Well,
I think we really got to take it in.
It's interesting because there's a poet named Kent Johnson who was a Chicago poet, and one of the things that he said is that poets need to learn other languages because in translation there's the mystery where you can discover what poetry means. And so this was cool to kind of see how it's sort of in between two languages in a way.
Well, he's been popular in Russia since the end of the Tsars because they translate him as a proletarian, a poet of the people, which he was in many ways. He's also popular in Japan and China. Go put that together. Wow. The translations of him, or transliterations, whatever it is, because they're very similar, into English are terrible because they don't catch any of the rhythm. It sounds so flat. And that's why some of the time, like in this one, when I said wast, it's waste, but the rhyme scheme, it's wast. So it's like with Shakespeare, it's better just to say that. So I was trying to think of something depends on how much time we have. Something a little bit more complicated that would be of interest to people. He, we can do this and see how much time we have.
Yeah.
Scotland, and I did Google this before we went on because I was thinking, who else has a bawdy song tradition? And I Googled, which country has the biggest or the most famous bawdy song tradition in the world, and it said Scotland.
Wow.
So, and the 18th century is when it really flourished. So, bawdy, we all know what bawdy means. It's the
Yeah.
word body if you're from New York, bawdy. No, I'm kidding. What is it? So, bawdy is traditionally not dirty, right? It means sophisticated dirty poetry. Or, yeah, it has other technical definitions.
It's more elevated, maybe? Yeah.
Yes. So if there's time, we can read one of his bawdy poems. But before that, so he's a farmer's son, and then he becomes a farmer, and his father's dead. And Burns was known as a ladies' man, and in his lifetime, they know of 13 children that he fathered,
Wow.
and 8 of them were with his wife, and there were quite a few others. And he was a man of his time, but he was also unusual in some ways, and that he not only acknowledged the bastard children, but offered to support them and raise them. And his mother raised, I think, the first one, and then his wife, and then some of them, the families were like, I don't think so. We'll take that child. But anyway, he also lived at a time with the Church of Scotland. The Presbyterian Kirk was very conservative, and they had this thing: if you got caught having sex outside of marriage, you had to spend, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in church sitting on the cuddy stool, cuddy meaning short, also known as the fornicator's bench. And the young man and woman would have to sit right in front of the congregation, low, and get scolded and shamed during the service. Well, I think it was more of a shame to the young ladies, probably, and it was probably more difficult for them, if you can imagine, as you can imagine, rather. Anyway, Burns became known as a poet in the district of Ayr. It was in Ayrshire that he lived, and by circulating his poems. People would write out copies and they'd circulate them, and he was becoming quite popular. He was known as Rab the Rhymer. Well, when this happened, when Betsy Patton became pregnant and they were called to the fornicator's bench, he was pissed. And so he wrote a poem that was then circulated. And there are variations on this poem that people find if you look in various archives, but this is the one that's most commonly understood to be the main one. And it does take a fair amount of translation. I'll just do it along the way and see how it goes.
Yes, great.
It's a poet's welcome to his love-begotten daughter, the first instance that entitled him to the venerable appellation of father.
Good.
Thou welcome, ween, child. Mischanter fa me, misfortune befall me, if thoughts of thee, or yet thy mummy, shall ever daunten me or awe thee, my bonny lady, or if I blush when thou shalt call me titya or daddy, terms of endearment. What though they call me fornicator, and tease my name in country clatter, country gossip, the mair they talk, I'm ken the better. The more they gossip about me, the better known I am. Even let them clash. An old wife's tongue's a feckless matter to gie in fash. It's a trifling matter when old women gossip about you, so don't worry about it. Welcome, my bonny, sweet wee doctor. Though ye come here a wee unsought for, and though you're coming, I have fought for, baith kirk and kier, both the church and the part of the church where the choir is, which I think is for rhyming purposes. Yet by my faith, you're no unwrought for, that I shall swear. Wee image of my bonny Betty, the Elizabeth Patton, the mother, I fatherly will kiss and dote on thee, and dear and near my heart I set thee, with as good will as all the priests had seen me get thee that's out of hell. Sweet fruit of many a merry dint, a dint and affection, so a little colloquialism there. My funny toil, another euphemism, is no all tint. It's not all lost. Though ye came through the world asclent at an angle, though you came to the world asclent at an, meaning dishonorably, which fools may scoff at, in my last plaque, my last coin, thy parts be in it, the better half of it. Though I should be the war bested in the worst circumstances, thou's be as braw and bienly clad, you will be as well and nicely clothed, and thy young years as nicely bred, with education, as any brat of wedlock's bed, in all thy station. Lord grant that thou may I inherit thy mother's looks and graceful merit, and thy poor worthless daddy's spirit without his failings. 'Twould please me mair to see thee inherit it, than stocked malins, than successful farms. For if thou be what I would hae thee, what I would have you be, and talk the counsel I shall gie thee, I'll never rue my trouble with thee, the cost nor shame o' it, but be a loving father to thee, and brag the name o' it.
Oh,
Wow.
lovely. That reminds me of, is it Edgar's speech in, is it Lear that Edgar has a speech?
Oh, yeah,
about
why should I just, because
Stand up for bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the one I was born under the wrong sign.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so he also had a reputation for challenging authority regularly. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of his satires are about, is challenging the church. What's our time look like?
I think we're good. Yeah, we could do some more.
We could do why don't we do one of the Bawdy ones, because they're kind of funny,
Yeah, yeah.
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 Kind of dirty. No, they're not dirty. They're just, funny. I'll tell you, I wish there were more of them, the titles that would tell you what his Bawdy songs and poems are like. One is called Nae Hair on It, meaning no hair on it. One is called 9 Inch Will Please a Lady. Another is called The Fornicator. And there's one called Ode to Spring. And in a letter, when he sends it to somebody, he explains that somebody bet him that he could not write an ode to spring on an original theme, because obviously people have been doing that for centuries. So he wrote about Damon and Sylvia out in the woods to the rhythm of the birds.
Okay.
Quite good.
If you don't mind if I bleep you on that, but yes.
Oh, I didn't know how PG this is.
Well, I have to when we upload these podcasts, they have to.
Oh,
we have
bleep
to
me.
let
Bleep
them out.
everything.
I'll
Just
bleep
the
the
one long
daylights.
bleep, 40 minutes. So the other thing is, frequently there's like the well-known version of the song and the
Yeah.
Bawdy version he wrote. And he frequently wrote both. So Coming Through the Rye, Getting
Oh,
a
yeah.
body, meet a body, coming through the rye.
Yeah.
Well, the Bawdy version is Gin a body, meet a body, coming through the rye. Gin a body, need a body, cry, etc. So,
Yeah.
and it goes from there. Well, there's a very famous Burns poem song that's well known in Scotland, and I don't know if it's still well known here. Although there's a sculpture of it I found at a cemetery in Detroit. So somebody knew of it. It's called John Anderson, My Joe. And it's a poem about an elderly couple, and it basically takes them from youth to old age to death. John Anderson, my Joe John, when we were first acquainted, Your locks were like the raven. Your bonny brow was brent. Your brow was smooth and young. But now your brow is belled, John, bald. Your locks are like the snow, but blessings on your frosty pow. Your head, John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe, John, we climb the hill together. And many a canty day, John, we've had with one another. Now, we maun totter down, John, and hand in hand we'll go, and we'll sleep together at the foot. John Anderson, my Joe.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, very sentimental, sweet, and, also evoking the grave. That's where they're sleeping together, of course.
Oh.
So here's the Bawdy version. And weirdly,
Okay.
the Bawdy version seems to be written first and that one second. I'm not quite sure why. So, this, let's just say it has some vocabulary and it has some euphemisms, and you may have to pick up on some of the euphemisms.
Okay. We'll
It
brace
definitely
ourselves.
it has een a couple times, and sometimes een is evening, and sometimes it's eyes, plural. But it depends on the context. I think you'll pick it up. There's also tail tree, which would be slang for
Yeah.
nobody's going to say it to get beeped.
No, go. You can say whatever you like.
It's slang for penis.
Okay.
Tail tree, and all the euphemisms are well. There's both male and female parts are in here. So what else? Oh, there's a line, keep out o'er the dike. Well, a dike is a wall. So she says, it's a fine thing to keep out o'er the dike. Well, that means to get out of the farm, get out of your property and go do something.
Yeah.
Then there's meckle, which means a lot or much. There's hurdies, which are your buttocks. And the verb fike, to fike, is to grind.
Huh.
And then there's the term chanterpipe, which is a euphemism for you-know-what. Well, have you seen people play the bagpipes?
It's the mouthpiece, right?
Right. So you have the drones are the big up here on the shoulder, and then the chanterpipe is the one with the holes that the melody comes out of. So it's it's long and thin.
And Thomas, you have spent some time with the chanterpipe.
Oh, long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really try to. There was a divorce. I don't talk about that. Yeah, Marlboro lights came in between us. That's all clear. And then there's a point where she says she refers to the warm bed, meaning under the covers, or else aboon the clays, meaning above the clothes, meaning you can keep your clothes on if you want. And you shall hay the horns, John, meaning the horns. You know about
From cuckolding.
From cuckolding, yes. So from cuckolding, you get, I'm going to cheat on you. You'll have the horns because I've cheated on you. And then says the cuckold's malison, which would be the cuckold's curse. Okay. So I'm just going to give it a shot, and we'll see.
Give it a shot.
Let the chips fall where they may. And also, it's got a little rhythm that I'm not a singer, but a little melody may come out. So just
Sure.
we won't worry about that. So, and the last thing I'll say is that he wrote in the woman's point of view a lot, and the women are always badass, as you will see with this lady. John Anderson, my Joe John, I wonder what you mean to lie so long in the morning and sit so late at e'en, and you'll blear all your e'en, John. And why do you so? Come sooner to your bed at e'en, John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe John, when first that ye began, ye had as good a tail tree as any other man. But now it's waxen wan, John, it wrinkles to and fro, You've twa gae ups for I gae down. John Anderson, my Joe. I'm back it like a salmon, I'm breast it like a swan. My wame, my womb, it is a down cod. My middle ye may span. Frae my top knot to my toe, John, I'm like the new fallen snow. And it's all for your convenience, John Anderson, my Joe. Oh, it is a fine thing to keep out o'er the dike, but it's a meckle finer thing to see your herdies fyke. To see your herdies fyke, John, and hit the rising blow. It's then I like your chanter pipe, John Anderson, my Joe. When you come on before, John, see that you do your best. When you begin to hold me, see that you grip me fast. See that you grip me fast, John, until that I cry, oh. Your back shall crack or I do that. John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my... This is the last plea. John Anderson, John Anderson, my Joe. John, you're welcome when you please. It's either in the warm bed or else aboon the clays. Or ye shall hae the horns, John, upon your heed to grow. And that's the cuckold's malison, John Anderson, my Joe. So there we have 18th century erectile dysfunction. You know,
it's not a modern problem. It's not a modern thing.
Nothing new under the sun, apparently.
That's right. Oh, for goodness sake, that's terrific.
So that gives you an idea.
Yeah. And there's plenty more where that came from, I'm sure.
Plenty more. Well, that's the thing, is how he did all this, I don't know. He also, his reputation as a womanizer, which is true. He also just loved women in every possible way. He also it started in the early 19th century that he was a drunk and that he died of alcoholism, which is not true. And he wouldn't have had time between the farm, all those children, all those girlfriends, all those wives, 700 poems, hundreds of letters. Plus, he when the farming failed, he became a tax collector.
Yeah.
He was busy.
On the horse from farm to farm collecting taxes, right?
Yes, he was an exciseman. So, you know, yes, he drank, but, you know, that's sort of a myth about him. But he wrote about rural life. He wrote about farm life, all kinds of odes to animals, to farm issues, a lot of nature poems. And he's now thought of more as a romantic because, and I don't know how much he was influenced by the Age of Enlightenment, which he was in, which is going on around him, because he was educated. Several of the tenant farmers hired a tutor. So he and his brother Gilbert did study for a few years, and it may have been his own instincts, but he tended to write these poems in which nature was not separate, but that man was a part of nature and on an equal footing with it, which was unusual.
Well, like the poem we heard about the mouse, they're equals. Yeah.
Dozens of love poems. The religious satires, the political satires. His most famous long poem is Tam O'Shanter, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, and if you see Burns' property, and you hear a lot about Tam O'Shanter just anytime,
right?
Anywhere in Scotland, you hear about Burns. Yeah,
and it's one of those things where that once you know some of the Burns poems and some of the stories behind them, you see, oh, wait a minute, they are sort of in our culture, but we just don't recognize them.
Well, like in the Of Mice and Men.
Right.
Yeah.
Lines from Burns. Or, for example, Tam O'Shanter's about a guy who his wife's been telling him, you keep getting drunk before you come home and you're going to fall in with witches. And she's waiting at home. She's pissed. He's out drinking with friends and he leaves and there's a storm and he rides through the storm and he comes to a church and he sees a bunch of witches dancing in this church. And the devil is playing the bagpipes and he's stunned and he can't move because there's this one really, most of them are old hags, but there's this one young witch who's wearing a short shift, a cutty sark, She's the most ferocious witch, and she's what they named the ship and the Scotch after.
So short cutty sark means short skirt?
Short shift. It's underwear.
Shift.
It's
okay.
short.
Okay.
Well, it's short enough that he could see something, and he's getting excited about this. And the poem builds to a kind of a climax, and he roars out, "Well done, Cutty Sark!" And in an instant, all was dark. And so the witches start to chase him, and he's on his horse Maggie, running, like crazy to escape the witches. And he knows, it says in the poem, that witches cannot cross a running stream. So he can get to the bridge over the river Doon, the Brigadoon.
Oh.
Then he can escape. And of course, it's a cautionary tale because the witches come upon him and they just grab Maggie's tail.
The horse's tail.
They snatch it off. So on the ship, named after Cutty Sark, there would be a masthead of a witch, or a woman, actually, a beautiful woman, holding a horse's tail in her fist.
Oh.
And there's a lot of things like that where it's sort of, it's into the culture. A lot of poets and songwriters who were big Burns fans, among them Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, Patti Smith, who felt they were influenced by Burns. It's a big story.
Well, Thomas Keith, we're influenced by Burns through you, and the Poetic Turn has been influenced and brought into close connection with the poetry of Scotland in the 18th century, and you have done us such a favor by being our guest and delivering poems and simultaneously translating, and remarkable stuff.
Yes.
Thank you. You're so gracious not to say that I didn't let you get a word in edgewise.
No. That's that I know from our long acquaintanceship and our frequent conversations that was to be expected, Tom.
Yes, thank you so much for being on here, and hopefully our listeners can feel they've had a taste of a Burns supper and what that might feel like.
A wee bit.
A wee bit. Well, thank you so much, Tom Keith, from all the way from New York. We appreciate you coming in, and we see some of your books behind you. Some of those might be Burns books. And again, I think probably once you get a couple more Burns books, you feel like, oh, that's enough. I don't need to get another one. I'm sure that's the way you are, right? You know.
I have divested. I'm an anti-hoarder. I've given away or sold everything that I don't actually need for research. I am now, if you can't get it on a Kindle, do you really need to read it?
Oh, good point. Very good point. Wow.
Because you need a little less stuff. Let's just say.
A little less stuff. At different places in life, we want to collect fewer things. But terrific. Thank you so much for being our guest on The Poetic Turn, Thomas Keith.
Thank you, guys.